Yeah, we did message that already, but of course we wanted it to be an option for people to not use their child's account. So, okay, thank you, Jan. So just wanted to make sure everyone knows that this is being recorded. That's so that we can share this with other families who maybe were not able to join us, whether for scheduling reasons or perhaps technology reasons. And I will say now for anyone watching the recording, our apologies if you tried to log in using not your child's account. We thought we had it set up to let you in, and it seems as though that didn't happen. So I do apologize if anyone was trying to get in and was not able to. But we're very glad everyone can be here today. It's wonderful. We have some fantastic parents on their children's account. We have some great teachers here with us now. And then the three administrators here are going to be sharing some of the questions that we received from the survey and just some other general information about middle high school in this current stage where we are with virtual schooling. So again, welcome. Hello, my name is Hannah Benenson. I'm the principal of the Johnson campus. So that's 3rd through 10th grade this year. Really excited that we're continuing to grow the high school and really excited to see you all this evening. And I'll pass it off to Jan.
And Jan Cullen, director of middle school, so 6th to 8th grade this year. Very excited for a new year. Lots of challenges, of course, but also very excited about the team that we're working with this year. Amazing teachers that are returning, amazing teachers that are just arriving from France, with whom it's just been an incredible working environment, and that have made all of this possible. So I'm very happy for this team that we have this year. And I'll pass it on to Diane.
Merci, Jan. Hi, everyone. So I am Diane, the new high school director. So I'm very excited to be part of the LFNO team. It sounds already very, challenging, and I'm very, very thrilled to be here. And tonight I will track your questions, the questions you will put in the chat. So don't be surprised if you see me watching, at 2 computers at the same time. And also, unfortunately, I have had some connection issues. So I hope I will be able to stay with you during all the meeting. Thank you all.
Thank you, Diana. I'll be sharing our presentation now, Hannah.
Great, wonderful, thank you. And I just wanted to extend an extra welcome to Diane. She's been with us for a couple months now, but this again represents the growth of the school and very exciting as we are getting every year 1 year closer to a complete pre-K through 12. We're working on our 10th grade this year. Okay.
Can everybody see my the presentation?
Yes.
Good. All right, so we went through the survey, so we had quite a few responses to our survey. It's important for us to be able to touch base with our families, to get feedback. That's important during regular times. It's increasingly important now that we're in a virtual model, that we're doing school like we've never done it before, that our team needs to reassess how they conduct instruction. The goal is the same. We haven't changed our goal. It's still focused on quality of instruction and making sure that our students are successful and growing in this model or in an in-person model. But that feedback has been crucial, and we've received a lot of constructive feedback from our families, which we're grateful for. We've tried to structure the feedback into main categories, and to answer all of the questions that have been put in the feedback survey. So simple questions sometimes, but there's no wrong question. All of these points are important to clarify. And the first one is, where do I find the links to the classes? The links to the classes are now the keys that open the door to the classroom. We've tried to organize this in a way that is simple for everyone to access. We've tried to make sure that we communicate abundantly on access, and as of now, and for the past couple of weeks, all of the links can be found on the student schedule that I will be showing in a moment, All of the links can also be found in the Google homeroom of the student. Each student has a Google Classroom for each of their subjects, but they also have a special page for their Google homeroom. In the Google homeroom, they find general information such as academic support links, such as schedules. The schedules that they should find, that you should have received by mail, but that you can also find in the Google homeroom, is a schedule that looks, oops, let me see, there we go. That looks like this. Each grade and each section has them. The links here on the subjects are hyperlinked. The student only has to click on that to get to his live session with the teacher. Now, the only thing is that, so I'm able to join, obviously, but a student, these are secured links that come from their Google Classrooms, and oops, there. They come from their Google Classrooms, and they are secure links, which means that they are not supposed to be able to enter those virtual spaces without an adult. As Hannah mentioned, we're dealing with new technology to teach our classes, and therefore we've had to figure out how to secure those links appropriately. It has been a lot of tweaking for us, but I think that we've found a system that is workable and that is safe for our students and our teachers. So another question, what is the homeroom situation? So currently our homeroom is only a virtual space. As I said, they have a Google homeroom page that is created where general information is communicated. At this point, we wanted a strong focus because of our limited time, and we don't want to expose our students too much to computers and screen time all the time if it's not going to be purposeful. So we could not include an extra homeroom. But they do receive like general information from their homeroom teachers in the homeroom Google Classroom. The Wednesday schedule is also on our general schedules. So if I go back to my page, at the bottom of each schedule that they can find in their Google homerooms, they can see the schedule. They have a week A, week B schedule. They have also on their Google homerooms the yearly calendar with the color-coded week A's and color-coded week B's. What we've put here is the live sessions, so the interaction with the teacher directly, and then we put their schedule for recorded sessions. Now, there can be a gap between the live sessions. Therefore, what we recommend, because the recorded sessions are posted by 8:30 on Wednesday, is that student access their recorded sessions before, between, or after their live sessions. Again, schedules can be accessed directly, Google Classrooms can be accessed directly from there. Oops, sorry. So mix of live sessions and yes, sessions recorded, so the student can make their schedules during the day based on their live sessions. Schedules and class structure still. Some of the questions were, why do Wednesday classes last 35 minutes? The focus in our virtual model was to place an emphasis on core subjects. Therefore, we have those 90-minute blocks, which are 80 minutes plus 10 minutes of break in each of the blocks on core subjects on the Mondays, Tuesdays, Thursdays, and Friday. And we decided on the subjects such as art, music, PE, and advisory to have a reduced time for students to spend in front of the computer. And that's why we reduced the number of these classes. Gaps between classes on Wednesdays, it's because of our schedule constraints. So we have those 4 subjects, art, music, PE, advisory. Our teachers that are supervising and teaching in art, music, advisory, and PE have 14 homerooms. So that's why we have a rotation, and that's why we had to have live sessions and pre-recorded sessions. Hannah, do you want to take that one?
Got it. Okay, so we've had a lot of questions and feedback from folks about the structure of things, and we have decided to move to the block schedule before COVID actually changed our structuring in general. And this was, I'm so sorry, if I could just ask folks to mute, that would be super helpful. I think most people are, but there's a little bit of feedback, and I'm easily distracted.
Can you mute me, Hannah?
I cannot. Another indicator I am not the host.
Okay, it's okay. I'll mute myself.
Okay. Yes, so we were moving to the block schedule for a number of academic and logistical reasons, to more time to dive in deep with curriculum, to make sure that, you know, classes like science have opportunities to develop a full lab in a period. There's a whole lot of reasons why it's beneficial just in a general classroom environment, also to minimize the number of books and materials kids were carrying each day. So we were already looking at an A/B schedule before all of this happened. However, we wanted to keep things as simple as possible for the virtual environment. So the 90-minute blocks is something that will remain when we do go back to school hybrid as well. Of course, it'll look a little different, but that is the main idea there. So those 90 minutes should include breaks. It also includes different modes of instruction. So that means direct instruction from the teacher. That means independent work time from students, small group work time, a variety of different modes as it is fitting with the different curriculum and developmental level of students. And so in addition to those classes, so I just want to emphasize there that that is not designed to be 90 minutes times 4, right? Not designed to be 6 hours of just students listening to teachers teach all day, right? It is supposed to mirror what happens in a real classroom, right? Which is a mix of teachers' direct instruction, helping kids in small groups, kids working independently, having a break. We have a longer lunch here as well. We wanted to coordinate that with the Patton campus and the upper elementary as well for families. And yeah, so all those things being built in. Additionally, since it's different than in a physical setting where a kid can, you know, just go find a teacher at recess and maybe ask a question here or there, we wanted to include things like homework time, independent work time, time to ask teachers questions, because it's just physically harder to do that if, you know, we do know students have been sending emails to their teachers to get clarifying questions. We also wanted to build some of that into the schedule. Okay. Additionally, then, talking about specifically the 6th grade Spanish position. So very unfortunately, this was, well, maybe I'll say fortunately, out of all that went haywire with the visas and the consulates and the issues with the French teachers being able to come, and that was unfortunately our 6th grade Spanish teacher. So fortunately, all of the French teachers came and got appointments and made it here, and our things are flowing smoothly. However, that meant that we did lose at the last minute our newest Spanish teacher. So we've been working for a local hire recently, and as you can imagine, with everything being more complicated these days, it has been a little bit complicated, but we believe we are days away from this being realized. And so for 6th grade, in the interim, there have been some activities. And also just want to reassure 6th grade parents, 6th grade Spanish is exploratory, introductory Spanish, because of the student's proficiency level in French. We can move pretty quickly in Spanish, the idea being that when they're in high school, they are becoming trilingual. So the high school credits for Spanish begin in 7th grade. So 6th grade Spanish, it is okay that they start a little behind. They're really way ahead of their peers by even having a 3rd language in middle school. Jan?
Jan, you're muted.
You're on mute.
Jan? Jan, we can't hear you. This is a live reenactment of what class can look like at any given moment.
Yeah, I think we're doing a pretty good model sample here. Thank you. I just have to go between like different screens and mute and unmute, which is what our teachers do every day. So talking about this new model, we came up that we started working on I guess on March 11th when we first went into our confinement situation. We've since then developed that, further increased that model. It revolves around the Google Classrooms and the Google Meets. The Google Classrooms are the virtual space where we can share documents, where we can share information, where students can walk into their virtual classrooms and access whatever resources or assignments are provided by our teachers. And our Google Meets is their virtual classroom where they meet their fellow scholars and their teachers following their schedule. So while we have perfected and made this system a little bit more robust, we're still in progress, and some of that progress comes from parent feedback. We know that we can now install weekly notifications from Google Classrooms. All of our teachers will receive a tutorial, and parents will receive a tutorial, a short tutorial on how to activate these invitations. And on how to get those notifications. The reason to why there is a step for you to activate or not activate that process is because it can, everyone has to find the right balance between too much information and not enough information. Once we do activate notifications, you will receive a lot of notification because middle and high schools have 7 different subjects, 7 different teachers, assessments and assignments in all of those subjects. So we will be working on making that setup clear and on having weekly notifications per classes in the week to come, and providing the appropriate guideline as well. All of that to just make sure that you have access to the appropriate information and you know what goes on in the classroom and can better support your scholar. So another great question was, why are we not using breakout rooms? So some of our teachers are using breakout rooms. Some of our teachers are not using breakout rooms right now. The reason to why this is because every Google Meet classroom, in order to add certain features, we have to add extensions. Extensions are just small software that we add to our browser, and that enables us, for instance, to take attendance, to create safe breakout rooms, to have like the one nod extension enables the student with emojis to raise their hand or give a thumbs up. What we've discovered is that we need to make sure that we only use Google official extensions because of privacy issues and also because of safety issues to our network. We've made many different attempts with extensions that were not official, and that created some breakdowns for some computers were crashing, some it was not working very well, or it was taking up too much energy or memory from the computer. Therefore, we have to have the appropriate solution to be able to make breakout rooms happen in a safe and effective way. Now, Google is very much aware of these situations and have released a calendar that they're releasing new extensions, including breakout room extensions, in October. Every month, they release new extension to help educators across the country handle their virtual learning. The reason to why some teachers use it is that we have found a workaround without using extensions. We have given guidance to our teachers, and it is to each and every teacher to decide if they feel comfortable, because that workaround is not as seamless to implement, and it happens during the lesson. So we do not want while all of our teachers are now becoming IT experts, we do not want them to be in the classes having to figure out all of their setup. It should be easy because their focus should be on their connection with their kids. Now, how can my child best communicate with the teachers? That is, again, there are multiple ways. It depends on the urgency of the communication, but all of our teachers have access to a grid view, so they are able to see their students while they are in class. However, some of our teachers are using an extra screen and Promethean boards and doing demonstrations and not necessarily looking at the whole class all of the time, or they're doing presentations and they won't see all of the students all of the time. So it can be chat box, it can be raising hand, and it can be an email directly to the teacher after the class. So Google Classrooms and Google Meet, again on that topic, we had questions regarding grades. Why are they not posted in Google Classroom? Google Classroom is our tool to dispense teaching to support our students. So we do not add grades directly into Google Classroom. We are no longer using Unified Classroom from last year. We are still using PowerSchool. PowerSchool was the software developer for Unified Classroom, and they were both tied together. We've removed the piece from Unified Classroom, and just to stick with PowerSchool. It is, however, a new portal in PowerSchool, so we are making sure that all of the class lists are correct, that all of the attendance, all of the schedules, and all of the information that needs to be processed in PowerSchool is effectively in PowerSchool and operational before we communicate all of the logins to our families and to our students. You will be able to access, as a parent and as an LFNO scholar, to attendance and grades in the PowerSchool system. The grades will be linked to an assignment, which will be the same assignment that the one that you find in the Google Classroom. So our communication about PowerSchool, I believe, will be, Hannah, released towards the end of next week, that we will be communicating logins for parents and scholars next week.
That is correct. We're putting it together now so that it will be mailed out in the physical mail next week.
Excellent. So while we will be communicating this very shortly so that you have access to all of these extra information, we want parents to rest assured that our teachers are communicating promptly to families if they have concerns about students, if there are students that we feel are getting very low grades or are getting like D's or F's, that there are communications ongoing with parents in those situations, since we do not have access to PowerSchool right now.
All right, and I will just assure those of you who utilized and maybe struggled with Unified Classroom last year, I know we did on our end. It was an experiment and it was not worth it. And so I can tell you PowerSchool is much more simple, to the point, easy to use. So kind of the pairing of the Google Classroom, where you can actually get content, Google, email, etc., messaging to teachers, with just the straight up attendance and grades of PowerSchool, will be a much easier tool for everyone. Okay, so we also got some questions in terms of content and curriculum, in terms of the delays in starting this school year, additionally how we ended last school year, and just how things are progressing this year. And I think the most important factors to keep in mind here is that all students are at a different level. And so the curriculum and content mastery allows for that. There is, in every class, students of different levels. And at the end of a course, of course, there are major concepts that need to be mastered, but all students have them mastered to varying degrees. And teachers are experts at taking students where they are and getting them to that point. So this is a challenge, to be sure. This is a challenge in terms of like how teachers fill gaps from last year, manage the time this year, and then are thinking about the end of this school year so that students can progress on to the next course. However, this is a challenge that is as old as education is. And there's many other reasons that lead to students' gaps in education, many other points in their experience. So we definitely don't want anyone to feel like your child is behind, or they will suffer unnecessarily, or their long-term education will be damaged because of this. Teachers are doing a great job of, again, finding out where kids are, filling those gaps, moving them forward. It just looks different this year than in other years, but this is not a new challenge to teachers. So along those lines as well, the academic support time, we had designed this with grandiose expectations. And then, of course, we started the school year without being fully staffed. So what it looked like kind of in the beginning of the school year phase was a little bit more just in terms of informal check-ins, opposed to utilizing that time as we had envisioned. Now that we are fully staffed and teachers have got their routines down, the academic support structure for September and October has been rolled out. So students have a day of advisory that is added in. So that's the accompagnement personnalisé and advisory curriculum that they have with their advisory counselor. We have Miss Catherine here with us as well. I'm seeing her face now. And some of them also meet with Miss Laura as well. And then they also have support in different content areas, different days of the week. So it stays the same week after week, even though each day it is different. And so to have it be smaller groups as well, students are divided into 2 groups. So they will have about 40 minutes each day of either academic support or that advisory lesson. So this is more of what we had envisioned it like, but we're going to see how this goes. We do have plans to incorporate some project-based learning time, work time for students as well. So this can be a productive work time. So we do encourage students for the other 45 minutes of that period to be homework completion, academic time, so that ideally then they don't have any homework after the school day is over, but that is not supervised, just half of that period is supervised. Okay, so in that, talking about advisory, so there's a French version, and that's the accompagnement personnalisé, and the American version, which is advisory. So we're trying to cover a lot of things in a small time period. So this is taught by our school counselors, so that's why we were very happy to bring on Ms. Catherine this year. So we increased by a counselor last year and increased by another counselor this year. And this is a course that is taught to all students 6th through 10th grade. And it is developmentally adjusted, but it is to help them round out their education in lots of supportive ways. So there are organizational skills. We know that especially in our current environment, students need to learn how to use a calendar, use an agenda to prioritize, study skills, how to handle, especially 6th graders. It's a challenge how to handle multiple teachers in multiple classes, how to do professional emails, social emotional learning, knowing themselves, understanding their community, how they fit in with that as they are making that bridge between childhood and adulthood. This is kind of like that guiding hand. So this is part of the high resolves curriculum will be a part of this, but there's additionally a lot of other parts that go into that. So we're very lucky that all of our counselors are former teachers, and so this is a natural fit for them in that way. Okay, so clubs. We are very hopeful that we'll be able to find a format that works when we are back in in-person learning, but this will also depend on staff availability, because we also know that being back in any in-person learning will probably have our teachers stretched thin. But there have been many conversations about what clubs could look like in this format. So more on that when we have it. And there were some questions about advanced placement classes. So advanced placement, for anyone who's unfamiliar, are college level courses that are taught at the high school classroom. So this happens in all subject areas, and part of the French American Baccalaureate requires you taking AP classes. So in upper years, in junior and senior year, there will be a lot of AP classes. In 10th grade, all students take French AP. Because of their proficiency level in French, this is a great AP class to start with. You know, typically the French AP class is taken by students who just take French in high school. So our students, this is a great way for them to start with the format, start with the experience of sitting for a college level exam, etc. So similar to how our middle schoolers get a lot of high school credit in middle school. In 10th grade, they start getting college credit for, well, you have to pass the AP exam at the end of the year for the courses they're taking in high school. So that has begun with our flagship 10th graders.
Some other questions were about curriculum and access to information. For middle and high school, each of our teachers have posted syllabus as material on the Google Classroom, and it can be accessed by scholars and by parents. If that is not the case, or if we're delayed on that, we will make sure that it is posted and accessible for everyone. Is PE a health class or physical education class? And that's also an excellent question. Physical education in France works very differently, and we are following the French Ministry of Education curriculum. The way that it does work in France is that PE happens in every grade in every single year. And so as we are following the French program, it will happen until 12th grade. But in the curriculum, it is a robust curriculum on sports, but they do also have topics on health, and that meets the same requirements as what we need for Louisiana high school diploma. So primarily physical education, but in that physical education, there are health topics that are being covered. Extracurriculars and plans that we have for this year. So our student council will be starting soon. The process will be starting soon. The election, the campaigning will be starting soon. We're looking for election week to be October 5th. In the meantime, we have to prepare, train our students, have them fill in an application, campaign, and proceed to elections. This will be the third year of student council for LFNO. Therefore, once we have our student council, like they have done in the previous year, they will be organizing Spirit Week. Possibly at this point will be a virtual version of Spirit Week in October, but an exciting one all of the same, getting us ready to in-person school again and getting us excited to see each other again. School dances, of course, would be planned by our student council as possible and following our events and our current situation. We had planned to receive this year, for this school year, in October, 25 French students from our partner school in France. And our plans were to send 25 ninth graders to France in spring of 2021. We are continuing the partnership this year with our school in France in the hopes to have that exchange happening in the next school year. So this is just delayed. We're still going to be able to have those travel plans. Our partner school is still very excited about this, and we want this to happen. And National Junior Honor Society will be happening also soon. We have one of our amazing teachers that is taking the lead on Student Council and on National Junior Honor Society. And we're very much excited about these opportunities for our scholars.
All right. So it is now mid-September. We are thinking about and talking about and planning for the next phase of education. So with our initial plans that went out, we talked about being all of term one, so through the end of October in the full virtual setting. That is not changing for the older students. There are some thoughts about doing a little bit of a staggered beginning for the younger students, but we are making the plans now for what a return to the school building would look like. And with all things going well in our community and keeping the COVID numbers low and making sure that everything can happen in a safe way. So that would mean that we'll be sending a survey out soon to families to learn about preferences. This will help us determine what staffing and what structuring looks like in terms of how many families would choose to remain 100% virtual and how many families would choose to do a hybrid. And that's the same hybrid that we had shared this summer. I say the same in that like there will clearly be some changes to those structures, but it's the same concept where students would go 2 days a week and then be home for 3 days a week. We really just need to know the numbers on what families would choose given that scenario. We will share these plans in October with the plan of then starting in November with the hybrid structure for families who choose it, and again, the full virtual for families who choose that. I do just want to emphasize that this is a taxing plan to do both. We believe that we can do both. We have seen people do it across the country, and wanting to highlight that it will be different than what students are experiencing now, because we'll have both the populations at home to serve and the populations in the school building to serve. So just some things to be thinking about and talking about in your respective homes in terms of what is the best decision and plan for your students, your middle and high school students. So more information coming on that, but I wanted to give you all that update. And the last thing we had here is that it was really bucket filling to get some of those shout outs, and that's being shared directly with teachers. When in this difficult time when people can't see each other and interact, and especially educators who have built their careers, have built their lives around spending time with young adults and seeing them grow and seeing them have the aha moments and the learning path, it's really difficult to be away from students. And so it's really beneficial to hear those little positives, because all of us are experiencing so many challenges daily. So thank you to all of you who provided some of those personalized shout outs. And we want to shout you out back because, you know, seeing people who did not sign up to be teachers or troubleshooters, technology wizards, whatever it may be, we've just seen some really amazing rallying together to help support other parents problem solving, making sure kids get what they need. And, you know, we deeply appreciate our students too. The older students are have grown so much in terms of independence, the way they navigate their classrooms, the way they troubleshoot, sometimes help teachers figure something out as well on the virtual setting. We already knew that they were very adept with technology, and their skills have skyrocketed in this. And also just for showing their resilience and their flexibility in a new learning environment, and especially the 6th graders. Transitioning to middle school is always a challenge for that age group, and they didn't get to do any of the like shadowing and going from 5th grade into 6th grade experiences. But overall, across the board, they are stepping up to the plate. They are showing up to their classes on time with questions and homework completed and really being engaged. And we know that that is hard. So we want to just thank you all and shout out your children for the great work that's being done in a really difficult situation. We all feel really lucky to be in this community. And also we feel really sad because we do miss your students. There's nothing like the energy of being at school. And when we go to school, it's kind of sad because it's quiet and empty. And we really look forward to when that can return to be the joyful hall full of children learning. So we just wanted to end on that note because you really gave us some positives. We wanted to make sure we could share that right back with the community. And I know in the chat box, Diane has been answering things that she could. We don't have...
No questions, Rana. We didn't receive any questions.
Got it. So maybe that's because we talked so much. But please feel free to put any other questions in the chat box. We're going to gather those and make sure that they're shared out with everyone. We're very thankful for you for having shown up. We're very thankful for you for all that you're doing right now. And although it was late, we did figure out the technical problem in terms of the hosting. So we hope some families got in. And again, I apologize to anyone watching this after the fact. I do apologize that some people had a delay in joining the meeting. Thank you for that question, Nancy. I don't think we had questions in the survey about TOC, but we can certainly address that a little here. So middle high school TOC is most definitely different than elementary. In the middle school years, it's very heavily focused on science and service. And in high school, it's more about careers and explorations of the community. And so at this time, that's on pause. In the elementary grades, they're doing like Wednesday sessions for TOC. And we, at this point, didn't feel like we had any more room to put more on the students with as much as that they're doing. And additionally, because middle high school TOC is very largely experiential, it didn't make sense in this format. So we've had a lot of meetings with our partners. The other challenge is that when we do return to school, a lot of our partners have suffered financial and organizational setbacks. So we're most certainly hoping to be able to re-engage, but it will definitely look different this year, because as much as our partners love working with us, with the staffing and other challenges they've had, we might not be their first priority when they're back up and running. But the things we can do at school still, we are most definitely going to do when we're back in the building.
Yeah, and to add to what Hannah said, it's absolutely the situation that makes it very difficult to drive a regular TOC as we know it. But again, our partners' capacity at this point was not, they were not able to focus on us developing that TOC. That does mean that we adore our partners and hope to work with them, but we are also looking into multiplying different partnerships in order to be able to drive TOCs in the future for middle and high school.
I saw another question come in here with the ability to switch between formats and signing up for a full virtual to switch to hybrid a few weeks later. At this point in our planning, we would have to ask for signing up for one program or the other, or we have debated whether this is through the end of the second term or through the December holiday break. Because this is necessary for our planning purposes, this is something that may change as well if we realize there's not as many challenges as we anticipate. I will point out that, you know, if we compare this to elementary, with elementary has discrete classrooms. If there are 25 fourth graders who all want full virtual, we can just change class lists, although it's not ideal, and have a teacher dedicated to virtual 100% versus having 3 or 4 kids in each class. We cannot, and I don't know if that's going to be the format because there's pros and cons both ways, but the problem with that in middle high school is we cannot disrupt their class structures because the teachers all overlap so much, right? And so that would mean that every teacher would be teaching to students at home at all times and to the students in their classroom at all times. So whereas we're looking into structures that could provide some flexibility for families changing more frequently, because we know circumstances will certainly change more frequently, we have to be careful in how we balance our resources. So at this point, the answer is you have to pick one and stick with it, but we are looking into models where we can be more flexible and have people change more frequently.
There was a question from Anne Woodruff about breakout sessions, about breaks during sessions. So yes, we did cover that point, Anne. They're supposed to have on the 90-minute block a 10-minute break at the end of the block in order to be able to transition, for teachers to have a break, for students to have a break, and to be able to be ready for the next session on time. So yes, breaks are definitely part of it. Please don't hesitate to ask any more questions if you have them.
The feedback from the teachers for parents. That's a great question. Thanks for asking that. I think that at this point, there's been a lot of individual conversations along those lines. Some parents who've reached out specifically saying, how can I help my child more? That I think teachers have really appreciated, feeling definitely like this is a collaboration and a partnership, as it always has been, but most definitely more so when the schooling is happening in your home. And, you know, I'm not sure, I don't want to put anyone on the spot, but if there's a teacher who would like to share anything just in general, what's extra helpful for you, certainly can open the floor there.
Monsieur Pascal?
Well, everything is going great so far, I think. I mean, for my classes in music, and still a lot on Wednesday, but and I support other classes during the week, mostly upper elementary. But it's the same, it's doing great. It's just about making sure that for a couple of kids, you have a lot of distraction on the side. And these poor kids try to see us, work with us, but you see people working in the background, some stuff like that. Just try to put your own child in the best environment possible to work. That's all. That's all I can say. Otherwise, they're really amazing online. I was surprised to see how wonderful they work online. But distraction, they cannot control that. We cannot either. So I'm just asking parents to make sure that they are in the best situation ever. That's it.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Pascal. I think this is, to Hannah's point, this is absolutely a team effort. And it is in general. But in this place, it relies on deep understanding, deep compassion, and making sure that we're just always like focused on communicating and going towards the same goal. I think Afka, you wanted to add something? Yes.
Hello. I wanted to give some advice to parents because I was lucky or unlucky enough to share screens with students, and I realized that their Gmail accounts were packed with unread emails because they get so many notifications every time a teacher just changes the name of a title, just changes the document. So my piece of advice would be to daily delete the mails and not get 150 unread mails all the time in the Gmail account, and to try and separate the ones that come from the classrooms from the ones that come, for instance, from Monsieur Jan, in which he explains the new events of the week. I realized this week that some had not seen like academic support organization because it was just in between 30 unread mails from the Google Classroom and that below and above. So that was my biggest advice. And if I can share my screen, I would like to show you some, just one button on Google Classroom, which I think parents could use to check with their child what they can do. It's when they connect on their Google Classrooms, this is the page they should, can you see it?
Yeah, it's about to present after.
Okay, so as a parent, if you have no idea how to help your child, just click on the to do here and should come up, well, I don't have any work to do because I'm the teacher, but should come up all the assignments from all the classrooms, and you can just go through with your child and see which are the ones that need to be done. And okay, that was just my pieces of advice.
Thank you, Afka. In like 30 seconds, that's a very, very helpful tip. In terms of what we were saying about notification and emails, this obviously goes with us in the school to make sure, and that has a place also in advisory, that we train our students in terms of organizing their drive, organizing their emails, knowing how to organize. These things are very new, and we will also, it is part of our plan to make sure that we help them with those tools. But it is that balance between having too much information and just the appropriate amount.
So I want to address two questions that have come in. I'll jump to the Google Classroom notifications first. At this point, I don't know that there is a way to turn them off. We will ask the tech guys. And however, there is a way to set up their Gmail account where it would go into a notifications file. So it would be, that would separate it out from like the content emails versus just like the update emails. And then once a week, they mark all as read, etc. So we will look into that and post that if we find it an easier way for students. I want to address additionally the art and music classes. So art and music is held for 35 minutes once a week. So this is similar to what would happen if we were in the building. They would have about 90 minutes every other week, like 90 minutes one week of art, 90 minutes the next week of music on the block schedule. Last year they had 45 minutes, 50 minutes of each. So it's very similar to what they would traditionally be getting. These are not in the high school and above level. These are not core credits. These are elective credits. So they do have them less frequently. And in the French system, it is, again, something they have every year, but it is less weighty than the core classes. It's additionally, just because of time and human power, in order to see that many students, you know, for example, Pascal he goes all day on a Wednesday straight through live. Please excuse me, in home education, I also have a 3-year-old on my lap right now. So that means that this is how Pascal can see all grades in a quicker rotation live, so they have fewer times when they're seeing videos, but it's a smaller quantity of time. So it is pretty equal to how we would do it normally, although it is not equal to the core classes. So please feel free to put more questions in the chat. Of course, always email us if you'd like to ask something that's more particular to your child. I hope this is helpful. We can most certainly do this on a regular basis if it is indeed helpful. I have to tell you, thrilled to see the turnout. Sometimes you worry you're gonna throw a party and no one will come. Make a PowerPoint and no one's there to look at it. So we're all very glad that you all came, and we would be happy to do this on a regular basis if that is helpful as well.
Hannah, there's a question about where we will be posting the video for the families that couldn't join.
Yes. So tomorrow, the PowerPoint and the video will be sent out in Être à la page. All right, thank you for that feedback. If folks would like to log off, certainly feel free. If you want to stay for a few more minutes, if you still have a question, we'll hang out here too.
Thank you, parents. Have a lovely evening.
Yes,
Yeah,
thank you.
thank you. Thank you, teachers, too.
Thank you, yes, for our team, for showing up. Thank you for being present.
Thank you all.
Hey, I have a question. So Sophie Guillet-Robertson is my daughter. Her mom is French. I'm American. She's in the 7th grade. And so like the math class, she's in algebra. Is there like an English version of whatever they're doing in math that I can follow along with if she has problems, or how do people address that?
So it is Algebra 1.
Yeah.
But it's Algebra 1 with a slightly different pacing, because the French don't do buckets of math, right? So they would normally do just math that's more of a blend. So because of that, it is Algebra 1, but it's a slightly different pacing. So, I mean, I think Madame Persil has signed off, but she, you know, would be more than willing to share with you, you know, what her pacing is and everything, if that was something you wanted to look into, on how you could support her more in English. But the great thing about math is it is international. So as soon as you know, like, the concepts and the pace at which she's going to be addressing them, it should be fairly straightforward. There are some times when there's a different approach to how to teach different materials in one culture or another, but it's pretty straightforward for algebra.
Okay. And another question. So the going back to school in November, is that a definite thing, or is that still kind of being discussed?
Everything is fluid. So at this point, with cases continuing to decline, we are moving forward with planning for that. But most certainly, if there are if there are large outbreaks in other schools as they open, if there is community spread, if there are other health and safety concerns, we will most certainly heed expert advice and observe what is going on around us. So I would say nothing is definite, but what we are observing and seeing going on leads us to believe that we could return to a hybrid system in November.
Okay, and would that be November 1st then, or?
So the term ends on a Friday, and that's October 30th, I believe.
Okay.
Then the following Monday is November 2nd, and that is actually a new CODOFIL PD day. CODOFIL had to switch up their days, so that's why next Thursday became an instructional day, because that was supposed to be their PD day, and November 2nd became PD day. And so that means then the 3rd is the national election. So we're off for that because our schools are polling places. So that would mean that week is when we would start back with the hybrid version. It looks like Wednesday of that week.
Okay. And is there like a cutoff date where you're going to make a decision one way or the other? Or no?
Yeah, our hope is to be able to have that solidified for fall break, going into fall break, so that families can make plans. Excuse me. Also, so that teachers will need to be in the building preparing physically. Excuse me. So that is the hope, that all of this would be prepared in that first week of October. But there are, of course, many factors that might delay that a little bit, but we do have that buffer of mid-October to get things finalized.
Yeah. Okay. Cool. Thank you.
Yeah. And we have the advantage of Patton going, they have their re-entry planning going on about 2 weeks ahead of us. And additionally, a lot of schools that are OPSB have been doing some planning already that we can learn from. So we most definitely want to learn from people who are successful and who are struggling, so that we can not go down those same paths.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
But we really appreciate parent feedback on this, because we know that we have a wide spectrum of needs and desires, and we want to do our best to be aware of them so that we can meet as many needs and desires as possible.
Cool.
Yes, yes, indeed. Thank you for joining. Okay, I think we'll wrap it up here then. Again, this will be posted. Thank you all for being here.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Have a good evening.
Bye-bye.
Hi.
Do you have the you don't have the rights on this, right?